How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about the Revolt Summit Panel entitled Trap the Vote, Hip Hop and Politics, that features a viral moment between the rapper T.I. and conservative pundit Candace Owens. Now, if you search for anything relating to the Revolt Summit, which was a 3-day event, you'll see that particular clip, but we'll get back to that in a little bit. First, let me back up a little bit here and tell you who was at this panel aside from T.I. and Candace. Now, Puff Daddy, or Diddy, whatever you want to call him, owns Revolt, so he was the guy that put on the whole event and this particular panel. The moderator to the event was Jeff Johnson. The panelists include Steve Pargett, Candace Owens, T.I., Killer Mike, another rapper, Katrina Pearson from the current administration in the White House, and Tamika Mallory. Now, this event had a whole lot to it. There's a lot to unpack here, as the cool kids would say. But let's get to the elephant in the room from the very beginning, and that is a whole tiff between T.I. and Candace Owens. If you search for this online, you'll see the headlines that say something along the lines of T.I. crushes Candace Owens, T.I. obliterates Candace Owens, T.I. presses Candace Owens about MAGA. Basically, he was trying to ask Candace, when was America ever great? Okay, he was trying to ask her that, but at the same time, he was not allowing her to speak. You ever talk to somebody and then they ask you a question? Like, it used to be an argument, they'll ask you a question, and then they'll keep talking for like an hour after that. So you're not able to answer them because they keep talking. When you try to answer, they say, you're interrupting me. So that's the whole little game that he was playing. So some of the media took that as, oh, she can't answer. She can't say when America was ever great. Okay. Now, a thing that encouraged me about that whole exchange was that the media were dead wrong about their assertion of it, according to the people. Everywhere I went, I saw a lot of pro Candace Owens comments talking about T.I. is emotional. He don't know what he's talking about. Get him out of here. Let Candace talk. Shut the F up. Let Candace talk. All that kind of stuff was going on. I was like, wow, I'm very, very encouraged. And I'm talking about on quote unquote urban platforms like Vlad TV and other places like that. People were saying that T.I. did not do a good job. I've not seen a lot of praise for T.I. Actually, I've seen people say that T.I., he was very childlike and emotional and, you know, not thinking logically, typical emotional liberal. A lot of praise was given to Candace Owens, and I was shocked. Before I saw that, I was going to do my reaction to the video, and I was like, oh, it was kind of a waste of time, a bunch of emotionalism, Orange Man, bad as that, and the third. But what I saw from the comment section lets me know that people are really receiving what Candace Owens was saying. And to get to the panel and talk about what they were saying, it was a lot of what I've heard before on these panels. You know, the legacy of slavery and discrimination. And, oh, my favorite one is when you press a Democrat about the Democrat policies of abortion and the welfare state, keep a man out the house, all these things that the Democrats put on us. What would they do? They'll say, oh, I'm not a Democrat or a Republican. I don't subscribe to either party. That was a big thing throughout much of this so-called discussion. They were saying, you know, we're arguing over which master is better, which, you know, house you want to be in. It's like, what? Killer Mike said that. And speaking about Killer Mike right quick, that's a nice segue into him. He spoke for, I feel like, the majority of the time. You got a panel that's pretty deep. You need to allow everybody to speak and have their, you know, time to shine or time to weigh in on a topic. But I think Killer Mike was a guy that did a lot of talking. Now, to his defense, he seemed like more of a moderate liberal. He's definitely a liberal, don't get it twisted. He supports Bernie. He said that on stage. So this whole thing about, oh, you know, which master makes no sense because he supports Bernie. Is that your master, sir? But I digress. He was more moderate. Candace would say things about being conservative that we all know to be true and that are very helpful to not only blacks in America, but also everybody, all Americans, about how illegal immigration is killing us, about how we need dads back in the house, about how we don't need, you know, any more abortion and stuff like that. She was saying things that really just made logical and common sense. Same thing with Katrina Pearson. However, when Candace would talk, a lot of times the crowd would be booing or, making noise, not allowing her to speak. And of course, when she's on stage, guys like T.I. and the so-called moderator, Jeff Johnson, will also be interrupting her, trying to press her about an issue. The moderator was terrible. Jeff Johnson, your job as a moderator is to keep everybody on point, on topic, to not let things get too far into the weeds, to manage time. He did not do any of that. He might as well have been on the panel himself, because he was pressing Candace about Make America Great Again and Donald Trump, talking about, oh, well, this president has really hurt us, is that and the third. It was a mess. It was very poorly done from a moderation point of view. Not professional at all. And then to the crowd, why must we just make it go shh like you're in middle school still? I mean, really? Are we at an assembly? Is it a school play? Is a teacher talking? Is it a sub in the room you just want to act up? It was really crazy. Not professional, not very well handled. I felt like might have even been protesters in the building that were trying to interrupt Candace. And where's the security at? Get them out of here. So when I'm watching this live, I'm like, okay, this is a waste of time. You got Candace Owens and Katrina Pearson, two very smart, intelligent women that are being interrupted and are almost being ignored by the panel and some of the crowd. They can't get their good information out there. But the internet, people watching at home, oh, no, they heard what she said. They were right up on it. It's like, yeah, Candace is right. And I was really encouraged by that. People on the panel like Tamika Mallory and T.I. did not add much. Killer Mike was okay, but I won't say he did great, because he was still kind of a fence rider, talking about, oh, well, which master, all this and that. But at the same time, we support Bernie Sanders. I got to add a thing about T.I. Aside from his emotional speaking without any kind of real brain power, any kind of logic involved, aside from that, he's also a big time hypocrite. He brought up white boys with AR-15s being the problem. It's like, sir, aren't you a repeat felon? You've been in jail like over 30 times. Didn't you get caught as a felon that cannot own guns with a whole arsenal of guns inside your house? An arsenal, sir? So why are you talking about gun control? Obviously, you know that gun control don't work. As a felon, you cannot have guns, number one. And number two, you don't like gun laws. You like to have your gun. So that was a big time hypocritical moment. And he probably snitched on top of being a felon with guns, because he got caught with all them guns in the house. It was an arsenal of guns, okay? As a felon, he gets caught with that and he does like a year in jail. How does that happen? But we'll move on. Hypocritical, emotional, T.I. That's what it was. Candace Owens did great. Katrina Pearson did great. Killer Mike did okay. He said things I agree with and things I disagree with as well. But he talked too much. That's not really his fault, in my humble opinion. That's the so-called moderator, Jeff Johnson, pretty much being a biased leftist, wanting to hear the left talk, or those that are kind of moderate left talk, and not people that are conservative. That's really what it was. And then it became a matter of star power. The poor guy, Steve Pargett, got in like 2 words, and he was a leftist, but, who are you really? I've heard of Tamika Mallory before. Not as much, but I have. Killer Mike, obviously. T.I., obviously. Candace Owens, obviously. And Katrina Pearson, obviously. I heard of them before, too. But I feel like they did a segment where they went to the crowd and asked them questions. I feel like a couple of those guys got more burn than poor Steve Pargett in a yellow little sweater ensemble. So that was a mess. Overall, the debate, if you're watching it in real time, it seemed like it was useless, because it was a whole lot of emotionalism and over talking and stuff like that. But when you look at how it affected people in the world and how they were responding to it, it kind of lets you know. It kind of was a gauge of where we at right now politically in America, especially with Black America, who were the target audience of this panel. It lets you know that we're not all Democrats. We're not all in the back for the left. Many of us are coming out now and supporting Donald Trump, or we're at least being more center-right, libertarian. We're not all over on the left. I'm seeing the MAGA challenge guys rapping about MAGA and stuff like that. I'm seeing it more and more and more. So this panel was not really representative of what's really happening. It's just not. And I got to say, one last thing before we close. Some would say Candace was not really in her element. She shouldn't have been there. Well, I mean, who should have been there? I mean, what is the appropriate black person to have in these panel discussions? Don't you want to see more diversity within the black community? It's funny. A lot of black folks will say we're not a monolith, but yet when you have a diverse group on stage of black folks, diverse of thought, obviously, then it's, oh, well, she's too different. She's not like us. I mean, what do you want? Do you want us to not be a monolith, or do you want a monolith? You got to pick one and stick to it. You can't have it be conveniently used whenever it's appropriate for you, whenever it's politically expedient for you. You don't want that when it comes to television and movies and stuff like that. But when it comes to a panel discussion or something like where you feel it should be one kind of black person, that's where you want it. It doesn't make any sense, but I think I'll leave that right there for now. That's pretty much all I got. What say you? Have you seen the actual panel discussion? If you've not seen it, a link for that is in the description box. What was your opinion about it? Was it a good discussion? Was it a waste of time? How do you feel about what Candace Owens said, what Killer Mike said, what T.I. said, and what some of the others said on the panel? And have you read any of the comments from some of these so-called urban blog sites and whatnot? Are you encouraged? Are you discouraged? I gotta admit, I was discouraged by the panel a little bit because I felt like, okay, the crowd's not listening, people on stage not listening, you know, you're not letting Candace talk. But then when I saw the reaction to it, I see many more people that are like me, that are black, that appreciated what Candace and Katrina said than didn't. But whatever your comments are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.